Lee Tang looks like the luckiest killer alive. He can throw away a winning lottery ticket like it means nothing. He can get close to the wrong people, stumble into crimes, and still walk away before the police can catch him. Later, he will be tied to a string of deaths and somehow keep slipping through the cracks. But if you think Lee Tang was born lucky, you would be wrong. In high school, he was bullied every day. After finishing his military service, he ended up at a mediocre college with no clear future. He has no grand ambition, no heroic dream, and no special confidence. All he wants is to drift through life, work part-time at a convenience store, and survive without causing trouble. But inside this ordinary young man is a terrifying gift. He does not know it yet, but his hands seem destined to find people the law failed to punish. One night, Tang is working the late shift at the convenience store when a drunk older man comes in to buy cigarettes. The man throws down a small amount of cash and demands a much more expensive pack. Tang tells him the money is not enough. The customer responds with an obscene gesture and refuses to pay. Tang forces down his anger and follows him outside, hoping to settle the bill. Luckily, the man's friend pays for the cigarettes, and Tang returns to the counter to finish his shift. When closing time comes, Tang borrows a hammer from the store. He bought a new decorative picture and plans to hang it in his room. On the way home, he sees the same drunk man lying in a dark alley. Tang wants to ignore him, but rain is coming, and the man's friend is walking ahead. Out of basic decency, Tang warns the friend not to leave him there. Instead of thanking him, the man tells Tang to mind his own business. Tang is already angry, so he gives the same obscene gesture back. That one gesture sets everything off. The man attacks him. As Tang is beaten, memories of school bullying, military humiliation, and years of swallowed anger rush back into his head. Even years later, Tang will not understand where the courage came from. He grabs the hammer and strikes. Rain pours down, washing the alley as Tang stands there in shock. He has just killed a man. Then he hears drunken laughter nearby and panics. When he turns, he sees a young woman in yellow standing at the end of the alley with a small dog. For one frozen moment, Tang thinks he has been seen. Then he realizes she is blind, and the dog is her guide dog. The woman walks away, and Tang runs home in terror, completely forgetting that the hammer is still at the scene. That night, he tries to wash the blood away, but guilt follows him into his dreams. The dead man appears, accusing him of leaving behind an elderly mother and children who needed him. Tang wakes up and remembers the worst detail. The murder weapon is still in the alley. The next morning, Tang goes to work, terrified. When he reaches the convenience store, police are already there. Detective Zhang Nangam has come because two men were found dead in the alley. The rain cleaned most of the scene, and there were no useful cameras, but the packaging from the cigarettes led the police back to the store. Zhang questions Tang about what he heard the night before. Tang is so scared that he is almost ready to confess. Then Zhang's junior detective arrives with a new lead. According to a witness, the two dead men were drunk and got into a fight. Forensics seems to support it. One wound matches a Bluetooth speaker, the other matches a brick, and the DNA on the objects points to the two men attacking each other. The motive also appears obvious. One of the men had been having an affair with the other's wife. The case is nearly closed as a drunken fight gone wrong, but Zhang is not satisfied. He keeps watching the convenience store footage. There is a moment where Tang borrows the hammer, but by pure chance, a fly blocks the camera at the exact second it matters. Zhang later returns to the store and pretends to comfort Tang while quietly studying his reactions. Tang seems normal enough, so Zhang has no choice but to back away. 3 days pass, and Tang lives in constant fear. Then the news reports a shocking update. One of the dead men, Kim Young-jin, is connected by DNA to an old serial murder case. The man Tang killed was not an ordinary drunk. He was a wanted serial killer. Tang's guilt suddenly changes shape. In his dreams, the dead man appears again, but this time, Tang is not afraid. He grabs him by the throat, standing with the victims the man once destroyed. For a brief moment, Tang returns to normal life, but the nightmare is only beginning. The young woman from the alley soon appears at the convenience store. Her name is Seon Yo-ok, and she has a surprise for him. She is not blind. That night, she saw everything. She also has the hammer in her house. Yo-ok demands money. Tang is horrified. He does not have that kind of cash, but he cannot go to the police, and he cannot ignore her. If she reports him, his life is over. He returns his new phone, begs his boss for 3 months of pay in advance, and even steals his mother's bank book. Finally, he scrapes together enough money and goes to Yo Oak's house. She calmly makes coffee and introduces herself as if they are having a normal meeting. Tang lays the money on the table. Yo Oak counts it, smiles, and then tells him this will be a monthly payment. Tang freezes. She explains that keeping quiet is a crime too, so if she is going to take that risk, he needs to pay her regularly. She even thanks her dog Jinx because the dog found the hammer after licking around the alley. Tang tries to take the hammer and leave, but Yo Oak has already investigated him. She knows his school, his address, and his family. Even if he takes the hammer, his DNA is all over her home. In court, that could still destroy him. Yo Oak thinks she has him trapped, but looking at her smug face, Tang makes a different choice. He strikes her with the hammer. This time, Tang does not run immediately. He has learned from the first killing. He takes back the money, takes the hammer, and leaves. 4 days later, a delivery worker notices that milk has been piling up outside Yo Oak's house. He climbs the wall to check and discovers the scene. When police arrive, Jinx is running around the yard. The dog has dug up a pit, and inside are 2 decomposed bodies. The bodies belong to Yo Oak's aunt and uncle, who disappeared 5 years earlier. Forensics and insurance documents suggest Yo Oak murdered them for money. After her parents died, the couple raised her like their own daughter and sent her to a good school. But after an accident left her injured, she bought multiple life insurance policies on them and staged their deaths. Once again, Tang has killed someone who was already a murderer, but this time, he knows he did it on purpose to hide his first crime. The guilt nearly breaks him. He tries starving himself, tries hanging himself, and tries to surrender to despair, but he cannot bring himself to die. So he lies down and waits for the police to come. But luck saves him again. The police find almost no useful evidence in Yo Oak's house. Jinx had been trained to lick everything clean. The dog even licked away traces connected to Yo Oak's old crimes. Detective Jang notices one strange detail. If no outsider visited Yo Oak, why was coffee served in a paper cup? Still, the main case becomes Yo Oak's own murders, and her killer remains a mystery. Jinx, now ownerless, is scheduled to be put down because the dog has a disturbing habit of cleaning crime scenes with its mouth. While an officer is transporting the dog, 2 thugs see him and follow him into an alley. Drunk and reckless, they attack him with broken bottles. At the same time, Tang is wandering through the city when he sees the news about Yo Oak. She was a killer too. In that instant, his guilt fades. Maybe he is not murdering innocent people. Maybe every person he kills deserves it. As Tang heads home, 2 thugs stop him and ask for a light. Their clothes are stained with the officer's blood. Tang's strange inner radar seems to go off. When he wakes up again, it is the next day. He is lying in his own room. Beside him are the hammer from his first 2 killings, the brick from the alley, and even a cigarette butt with his DNA wiped off. There is also a note. It tells him to open a private website if he needs help. Tang enters the address and is pulled into a secret chat room. The person on the other side knows his name. Terrified, Tang shuts it down. Then a delivery arrives. It is a court notice. Because Tang took 3 months of advance pay from the convenience store and then stopped showing up, his boss is suing him. Tang decides he has had enough. He packs the evidence into a bag, writes a farewell letter, and walks toward the police station to confess. Meanwhile, Detective Jang examines the bodies of the 2 thugs. One of them is connected to the first criminal case Jang ever handled. Years earlier, a model student named Kong Yun-so was attacked by a group of rich boys. Her physical injuries healed, but the trauma did not. After a month of suffering, she jumped from a building. She survived the fall for 16 agonizing hours before dying. Jang arrested the boys, but their parents used money and influence to weaken the case. The prosecution dragged things out until the statute of limitations expired and the boys escaped punishment. Yun-so's father, Kong Sang-muk, spent years petitioning for justice and never got it. Now, 2 of the boys are dead. Jang checks surveillance and realizes something unsettling. Li Tang appeared near all 3 recent murder scenes. Before Jang can question him, Tang calls the police himself to confess. But the officer on the phone misunderstands and thinks he is calling about the court case. Tang keeps walking to the station with the evidence in his bag. What he does not know is that someone else has already confessed. Kang Sang-muk, Yan-so's father, takes the blame for killing the two men. Jang quickly sees through it. The wounds suggest the killer was right-handed, but Kang signs documents with his left hand. One victim has cigarette burns, meaning the real killer likely smoked, and Kang has not smoked for years. Jang asks why he is covering for someone else. Kang finally admits that when he saw the news, he felt his daughter's revenge had been carried out. He did not have the courage to kill, but he was willing to take the punishment for the person who did. Jang insists revenge should happen through the law. Kang answers with the truth Jang cannot easily refute. If the law had worked, those boys would have been in prison instead of dead in an alley. Later, as Tang continues toward the police station, he is robbed. The thieves steal his bag, look inside, find no money, and throw it into the river. The hammer, the brick, and the evidence sink into the water. Tang's confession plan dies with them. Tang Sang-muk thinks back to what really happened. A mysterious person contacted him online and told him that if he wanted revenge, the cleanup would be handled. Kang followed the two men into the alley but could not bring himself to attack. Then Tang appeared and did it for him. After Tang collapsed, Kang brought him home, collected the weapons and evidence, and tried to take the blame. Now, with revenge finished, and his daughter waiting in his memories, Kang takes a handful of sleeping pills. 4 months pass. A prosecutor gets drunk and calls a designated driver. When he wakes up, it is only because death has found him. The task force investigating the deaths of the rich bullies has been disbanded after making no progress, and the case returns to Jang. To understand the pattern, Jang visits Ro Bin, a hacker obsessed with murder cases. Ro Bin was once arrested by Jang for breaking into police servers. Ro Bin studies the files and says these deaths do not look like a typical serial murder. The weapons, locations, and methods are all different, and the victims have no obvious connection. But the prosecutor's death changes the pattern. The killer used a knife and struck precisely at the heart. Jang understands what that means. The killer is evolving. After Jang leaves, the doorbell rings. Ro Bin's visitor is Lee Tang, who has been missing for months. Ro Bin warns him that one detective has dangerously sharp instincts. Tang leaves in a hurry and runs into Jang's junior detective outside. The detective later tells Jang that Ro Bin only ordered one delivery, yet another delivery worker had just left. Jang suddenly realizes the man looked familiar. By the time he reacts, Tang is gone. Jang confronts Ro Bin, but after a violent scuffle, complaints are filed against Jang. He is suspended. The reason Ro Bin knows Tang goes back 4 months. After escaping the hospital, Tang realized the police were getting close. To protect his family, he left a farewell note and ran away. With no money, he drifted through subway stations. During that time, he saw news reports confirming that the two thugs were indeed the attackers from Kang Yan-so's case. He began to understand that his luck was not random. Someone had been guiding events from behind the scenes. That person was Ro Bin. Ro Bin is obsessed with Batman and Robin. He dreams of punishing evil people who avoid the law. He spends his life digging up hidden crimes online. If a terrible person dies, Ro Bin helps erase the evidence. When Tang kept killing criminals by accident, Ro Bin became fascinated. To him, Tang is not just lucky. He has a gift, an instinct for sensing evil. Ro Bin shows Tang a hidden room filled with victim files, criminal evidence, and weapons collected from unsolved cases. Tang's guilt slowly turns into pride. His first deliberate mission with Ro Bin is the prosecutor. On the surface, Prosecutor G looks respectable. In reality, he has abused his power and exploited vulnerable young women. Tang kills him with one clean strike. From then on, Tang and Ro Bin become a dark partnership. Ro Bin collects evidence and chooses targets. Tang kills them. In 4 months, several more people die, and the two men start seeing themselves as a twisted version of heroes. To hide, Tang gets a job at a rural supermarket. There he meets Chae Gyung-ah, a young woman who keeps to herself. One day, Tang defends her from a rude customer, and later the two talk during the night shift. They have a lot in common. Both are outsiders in their 20s. Both avoid talking about the past. Both keep distance from everyone. Tang feels like he has seen her before. Gyung-ah gives a sad smile and says many men have seen her videos. Her ex-boyfriend once leaked private videos of her. After that, she changed her name, changed her face, and moved to a new city. But the past still follows her everywhere. Anytime a man looks at her too long, she wonders if he recognizes her. One day, Kyung-ah meets Ha Sang-min, a man from her past. He tells her he has also been blackmailed after an intimate video was taken of him. Because they share a similar pain, she starts to trust him. But Sang-min is lying. He was never being blackmailed. He only used that story to get close to her. Sang-min already has a girlfriend and is preparing for marriage. When Kyung-ah discovers the wedding invitation on his phone, her world collapses again. She slaps him. Sang-min insults her and tries to leave, but the fight turns violent. When she threatens to expose him, he attacks her. Kyung-ah dies, and her apartment is later set on fire. The next day, both Jang and Tang see the news. At the supermarket, Tang notices a strange man watching him. He tries to leave, but runs straight into Jang and panics. Tang escapes into the storage area, where the stranger stops him. The man says Tang's cleanup was sloppy, and so was the Yo Oak case. Before he can explain more, Jang's footsteps approach. Tang runs, and the stranger follows. The stranger is Song Chun, a former detective. The next day, Song Chun visits Ha Sang-min and questions him about Kyung-ah. Song-min admits sleeping with her, but denies murder, claiming she seduced him. Song Chun listens, then takes rope and tape from his bag. Sung-min asks for a warrant. Song Chun answers with his fists. After killing him, Song Chun stages the scene with gas canisters and leaves. At almost the same time, Tang calls Robin and says he has been exposed. Jang followed him all the way to Busan. Robin tells him not to panic, but when Robin gets home, Song Chun is waiting in his chair. The two men know each other. They used to work together, but Song Chun left the country after a mistake, and Robin moved on. Song Chun beats Robin and demands Tang's contact information. Robin lies and says Tang has run away. Song Chun gives him 3 days to arrange a meeting. Soon after, Jang's junior detective receives a message from Robin and goes to his place. At the door, he runs into Song Chun, who attacks him and throws him from the building. Jang rushes to the station the next day, furious. Robin comes forward with Song Chun's information and offers to cooperate. Song Chun soon creates even more trouble when he attacks 2 rude young people on a rooftop. One of them is connected to a powerful construction family, and the case puts pressure on the police. Jang is offered reinstatement if he catches Song Chun quickly. He accepts without hesitation. He wants revenge for his injured junior. Robin tries to eliminate Song Chun another way. He goes to the construction group and hands them information about Song Chun. Then Tang calls and asks who Song Chun really is. Robin remembers seeing Song Chun beat a criminal in the street a year earlier. Tang says he wants to meet him. Robin realizes he can use that. That night, Tang goes to an abandoned dance hall where Song Chun is waiting. Song Chun wants to recruit him. He believes Tang should stop working with Robin and join him instead. Tang refuses. He says he already has a partner. Song Chun warns him not to be naive. Robin uses people and throws them away. According to Song Chun, Robin betrayed him after one mistake, forcing him to flee abroad. Tang asks why Song Chun kills. Song Chun says he spent years as a detective catching criminals, only to watch poor people get crushed while rich criminals escaped punishment. At some point, he decided it was easier to carry out the sentence himself. While they talk, Robin follows Tang's location and leads the construction group's men to the dance hall. Tang escapes in the chaos. Song Chun faces the attackers without fear. He fights like a beast, using a gun loaded mostly with blanks, saving every real bullet for maximum effect. By the time special forces arrive, Song Chun has vanished again. The next day, Jang checks the footage and identifies everyone who entered the dance hall. Besides Tang and Robin, he sees someone he knows too well, Song Chun. Meanwhile, Robin buys a junk car and plans to flee the country with Tang. Tang hesitates. If he leaves, he may never see his parents again. Robin promises it is temporary. They will hide until things calm down, then come back. Tang agrees. But Jang's hunt for Song Chun goes wrong. Song Chun tracks down the chairman of the construction group. The company has caused many deaths through corrupt redevelopment, and Song Chun wants to cut the problem off at the source. Jang arrives and orders him to open the door. Song Chun has the chairman in a position where one move will kill him. Jang says he only promised to solve the case by the deadline. He never promised the chairman would live. Song Chun looks at Jang and suddenly remembers him. They have met before. He smiles and says Jang does not have the nerve to shoot. Jang fires. Song Chun survives and is arrested, but before he is taken away, he reveals something that shocks Jang. Years ago, he was the one who smashed Jang's father's skull. Jang's father, Jang Gab-soo, was once a respected detective and Jang's hero. Now he lies in a hospital bed, barely alive. Song-chan has carried that history with him for years. As he is transported in a police vehicle, Song-chan complains that his handcuffs are too tight. He says he has health problems and cannot breathe properly. When an officer leans in to loosen the cuffs, Song-chan attacks. The car crashes. Song-chan crawls out with a gun and disappears into the night after killing the officers. By morning, Tang and Robin have reached South Jeolla province, planning to leave the country by boat. While eating breakfast, they see the news. Song-chan has escaped, and police have named Tang, Robin, and Song-chan as members of the same criminal organization. The whole country is now looking for them. Robin contacts smugglers who can get them out. On the way to the dock, he receives a call from Song-chan. Tang asks who called, and Robin lies, saying it was a credit card company. Tang is no longer as naive as before. When they split up to reduce the risk of being caught, he secretly installs a tracking app on Robin's phone. Tang waits at the dock, but Robin never comes. Instead, Robin goes back to Seoul and contacts Jang. He says he knows where Song-chan is. Song-chan, meanwhile, goes to the hospital where Jang's father is staying. Jang is with Robin when the hospital calls. His father's oxygen mask has been removed. Jang Gab-soo is dead. Jang rushes out in rage, demanding to know where Song-chan is. On the way, Robin confesses that he and Tang killed the prosecutor. He says the man had abused a minor and deserved what happened. Jang stops the car, drags Robin out, and screams at him. Who gave him the right to decide who lives and dies? Robin fires the question back. When the law kneels to money, when power protects predators, what are ordinary people supposed to do? Should they suffer quietly and wait for justice that never arrives? Jang has no easy answer. Tang follows the tracker to an abandoned factory. Inside, under flickering lights, Song-chan tells the story of why he became what he is. He was the son of a killer, and becoming a police officer was already a miracle. He studied hard and dreamed of becoming a detective like Jang Gub-soo. Then one day, Jang Gub-soo asked him to deliver a box of deer antler to a woman who ran a restaurant. Soon after, the woman was arrested for drug trafficking, and the evidence shown on TV was the same package Song-chan had delivered. He confronted Jang's father, hoping there was an undercover explanation. Instead, his hero beat him. That was the day Song-chan's idea of justice died. Suddenly, Tang appears. Song-chan shoots, and Tang hides in the darkness. Then Tang rushes in with a knife and stabs him. The two men fight. Robin jumps in to help and tries to take Song-chan's gun. Jang aims at Song-chan and fires. The bullet passes through Song-chan and hits Robin in the heart. Tang collapses beside Robin, but it is too late. His partner is dead. Song-chan lies nearby and tells Jang that his father was not evil. He was just poor, desperate, and humiliated by a wife who looked down on him. Tang tells Jang to hand him the gun. Jang asks the same question again. What right does Tang have to decide who dies? 1 month later, the police announced that they have solved the major serial murder case. According to the official version, Song-chan killed more than 30 people over 5 years, while Robin helped destroy the evidence. The police claim they found proof at Robin's hidden room: files, blood-stained weapons, and fingerprints linking the crimes to Song-chan. When reporters ask about the college student Lee Tang, the police avoid the question. 3 years pass. Detective Jang buys gum like he always does. On TV, a news report announces that a man named Kim, who died mysteriously the month before, has been identified as a suspect in an old kidnapping case. His DNA matches evidence from that crime. Jang quietly listens. Somewhere out there, Lee Tang is still alive. The weak convenience store worker who once only swallowed his anger has become something he never expected. He may not have been born a killer, but fate pushed him step by step onto a road he can no longer leave. Every time he raises a weapon, the victim turns out to be someone the law failed to reach. But if justice can only arrive through violence, can we still say the law will always punish evil? That's all for today's drama recap. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like, comment, and share. I'll see you in the next one.